When you buy or lease a new car, do you feel like the dealer is always coming out ahead? You're not alone. I'm Jordan Goodman, America's Money Answers man, and in this episode of Money Answers TV, I talk with Linda Goldberg, president of CarQ, about how a consumer-oriented car buying service like hers knows all the tricks of the trade, so you can be sure you get the best deal on price and financing when you buy or lease a car. Don't ever get taken advantage of again. Get a car buying expert on your side so you know you're not getting ripped off. Welcome to Money Answers TV. I'm your host, Jordan Goodman of MoneyAnswers.com. Today we're going to find out more about how you can use a car buyer's agent to get the best deal when you're buying a new or used car. My guest is Linda Goldberg, president of CarQ.com. Linda, welcome to Money Answers TV.
Good to be here, Jordan. Thanks for having me.
So why do most people who are buying or leasing a car from a dealer get a worse deal than if they use a professional car buyer's agent?
Consumers are not truly prepared, even with internet pricing. They go into a dealership and they're trying to work against salespeople and tactics that have been taught through schools. And professional sellers know how to undo all the information that consumers bring to the table. They can't do that with a professional. I'm not there to buy a car. I'm there to make a deal and find the right dealer to work with. So the approaches are very different.
What do you do to make sure that your clients get the best deal on both the price and financing of a new car?
CarQ has access to proprietary pricing information. We speak the language of owners and high-level management. They're not going to hoodwink an agent the way they will attempt to do with a buyer. The consumer doesn't know really about dealer cost, and a dealer can give a car away for no profit and make $5,000 or $6,000 profit on the financing. So it's important that an agent represent the buyer because the buyer then has an equitable step with the dealer.
If someone is not sure which car to get that best suits their needs, how can you help them figure that out?
Well, I first of all help consumers identify what it is they really need to drive. Do they need an SUV? Do they need a four-door sedan? What are they using their vehicle for? Then I help them create a short list of maybe 3 vehicles and encourage them to test drive. I think the test drive is absolutely paramount in decision making.
How do you help people figure out if it's best for them to buy a new car with a loan or to lease it?
It depends on what their monthly expenditures are and what they anticipate they need to be able to spend each month. And also, how many miles a year do they drive? If a buyer is limited to 15,000 miles or less, they may well qualify for a lease. And a lease is going to save them several $100s a month more than if they tried to finance that same amount. So I always encourage leasing because they have, at the end of the lease, the ability to buy the car, sell it to a third party, and pay the balance residual off, or they can turn the car back into the manufacturer and say, "Thank you very much, I want a new car."
So how is the service you offer different from other car buying services that people see all the time? Things like TrueCar, Carfax, Autobytel. They also claim to be able to get the best deals for car buyers.
Well, they're not getting the best deals because they are highly paid referral services to dealers. They do not send that business to the dealer unless the dealer is signed up with their company to get those referrals. CarQ is not paid by dealers, lenders, manufacturers, so there's no conflict of interest. Whereas Autobytel and TrueCar especially, they're making $2,000 to $3,000 per month per dealer to send buyers in on these deals. And salespeople will tell you that it's a bait and switch setup. So what they think they're getting on the internet is not in reality what they'll end up with.
How much money do you save your typical client over what they would be able to get if they negotiated with a dealer on their own?
We offer a service called the Deal Review. The Deal Review allows the buyer to bring us a written quote, fully itemized. We'll review it. If we can't save them the cost of their fee, then we will not charge them. The fee will be waived. Or we'll be able to say to them, you've already got your best deal. If the buyer does not want to go out on their own and they retain CarQ to do the whole process, we can save, say, on a Honda, $1,500, but you might go to a Mercedes and save $8,000 or $10,000 off retail. You have to keep in mind that there is profit potential on every car, and the maximum you'll likely save is the difference between real dealer cost and retail, less incentives, which are not published, and rebates, which are published. So there is a wide spectrum of money to be found.
How do you save buyers time instead of visiting a whole bunch of different showrooms if they buy a car through you?
I would say 7 to 10 hours of negotiating time. Dealers can be very intimidating. They can keep you in a dealership for a long period of time to make it stressful and to get you to capitulate to their pricing simply to get out of the dealership. So the 7 to 10 hours that we're saving you is also eliminating a lot of the stress that goes along with the purchase. And we're able to help you make decisions more slowly so that you're not going to write a check for $50,000 when you might end up writing a check for only $40,000. So it's important to have the time to step back and really assess your purchase or your lease.
What are the 3 levels of service you provide car buyers?
Again, we offer a deal review. We also offer, for the buyer that wants to go shopping on their own, we give them the real tools and a consultation on how to go shopping on their own and how to find and access the real numbers for pricing. And then there's the full service where we do everything. We find the right deal and the right dealer. We get your purchase all set up for you in writing ahead of time. And then if you do not want to go to the dealer at all, we can arrange to have the car delivered to your home or to your business. So the 3 levels of service also give you access to leasing or financing. We address the issue of trade-ins, and we also address valuation reports and market reviews if you are going to sell your car or buy a used car on your own.
How can you help people buy a car even if they have a poor credit rating?
There are dealers that will get into what they call the lowest subprime rates. Most people can get financed. Those rates may come up to 22%, but it can be done. I recommend that if you have weak credit or a low FICO score, that you might approach or join a credit union, which typically are more friendly to someone local that may not have the supportive credit and they don't want to take a chance and go to a car dealer for a very high rate.
How do you help people who have a car they want to trade in to get the most value from that trade-in when they're getting a new car?
Well, obviously, if they bring it to a car dealer, the dealer is going to give them several $1,000s less than the value. So being prepared with a written valuation report, I think, is mandatory. If the consumer has something in writing that they can present to the dealer can't take advantage of them. But if they sell the car on their own, they're going to make probably $4,000 more than they would on a trade-in, and possibly even more than that. So I do recommend that if they have the time and the energy that it takes to sell on your own, that they try to do that first. But the trade-in is always the lowest number denominator, and it's always favorable to the dealer, not to the consumer.
How do you help someone who wants to buy a used car negotiate the best possible deal and make sure the car they're getting is reliable?
I recommend first they run a Carfax. And I prefer Carfax over AutoCheck. Carfax gives you far more detail about the history and the pre-ownership of the car. I also recommend, if you proceed, that you have a diagnostic performed. A diagnostic might cost $100, but it'll be the best investment you made, because if there's anything mechanically not sound with the car, the diagnostic will discover it. Once that's been accomplished, then you can sit down and start to negotiate pricing. If CarQ is negotiating, we know going in that we're going to ask for several $1,000s to begin with, less than what the dealer is going to ask for the car. So we have a negotiating power from a professional standpoint that the dealer isn't going to be able to argue with the way they would argue with a buyer, with a consumer.
How do you use your inside knowledge of what's happening with car manufacturers and the sales techniques that car salespeople use to get a better deal for your clients than they could on their own?
CarQ is working with owners and high-level management of car dealers. The pricing that we're accessing is based on fact. It's based on incentive information that is not shared with the public. And as we're shopping 20 to 30 dealers, each dealer provides us a little bit more information. So by the time our decision-making time comes for a client on which deal, which dealer, we know that we've ascertained all the inside information, and that gets passed directly to the buyer.
What kind of a difference have you made in people's car buying experiences?
I think we've removed them from the intimidation and the confrontation that becomes an absolute part of the dealership sell. And when people get taken out of that confrontation, it allows them to slow down their decision making and absorb what it is they want to spend a month. We provide them alternatives to leasing and financing, giving them choices. Here's a 24-month lease. Here's a 48-month lease. Here's 60-month financing versus 24-month financing. So we bring to the table alternatives. And that just makes the whole experience much more of a journey in favor of the consumer and not in favor of the seller.
So if someone wants to find out more about using CarQ to buy a new or used car, how can they contact you?
Visit our website, CarQ.com, or call us at 800-517-2277.
Well, thanks very much, Linda. You're going to help people get an awful lot of great deals on their cars.
Thanks, Jordan.
So if you're thinking of buying or leasing a new or used car, it might very well be worthwhile to take a look at using CarQ.com to help make sure you get the best deal. For Money Answers TV, I'm Jordan Goodman.